please to start the recording? Okay, thank you. The 12th session will talk about the role of filamentous fungi in advancing the development of sustainable circular bioeconomy by Mrs. Rachma Wikandari, Sarjana Teknologi Pertanian, Master of Biotechnology, Doctoral of Philosophy from Faculty of Agricultural Technology, Universitas Gadjah Mada. This session will be led by our moderator, a lecturer from the Food and Agricultural Product Technology Department, Mr. Tugestus Kurniawan Jati, Sarjana Teknologi Pertanian, Master of Science.
And let me read the Mr. Tugestus Kurniawan Jati curriculum vitae for you. And this is the CV. So Mr. Tugestus Kurniawan Jati is a researcher at Department of Food Technology and Agricultural Product, Universitas Gadjah Mada. He get his bachelor degree from the Food and Agricultural Technology Universitas Gadjah Mada, and he also get the master degree from the from the Food Safety and Food Biotechnology Universitas Gadjah Mada last years. And his experience is food safety internal audit, thermal process evaluation, research assistant University Center of Excellence for Research and Application on Integrated Probiotic Industry, food safety management system training. And he also involved in many research and conference. And don't have to wait any longer. Tugestus Kurniawan Jati, Sarjana Teknologi Pertanian, Master of Science, the time is yours.
So much, Master of the Ceremony, to introducing me. So good morning to all of the participants. Hope you are always in a good health and feel enthusiastic to learn to join the material course in the 5 summer course 2023. Before we start along, I would like to welcome all of you, all the participant committee, all of the person who already joined the Zoom to the 4th day, 12th session of the 5 summer course with the topic of innovative technology for agro-industrial sector in the 5.0. I'm Gadjah Jati as a moderator of this session. Before we start our session, I would like to remind for all of the participants to check the lot for any courses and material assignment or maybe other information. And also don't forget, if you want to check a lot more about the summer course activities, about the summer course update, you can check at the our Instagram or maybe our web, yeah, at the Instagram of summer course .ftp UGM. So this session we will discuss about some kind of microprotein as a sustainable protein sources that will be delivered by Dr. Rachma Wikandari. Now, I would like to briefly introduce Dr. Rachma Wikandari to curriculum vitae. Maybe the operator can help me to show. Yeah. So this is a little information about Dr. Rachma Wikandari. Rachma Wikandari is one of our lecturer in the Department of Food Agricultural Technology, majoring in the biotechnology. Just the bachelor degree from Gadjah Mada University, also the master degree, and then she continued to pursue the doctoral degree in the Borås University in Sweden. A lot of publication and the intellectual properties that Dr. Rachma Wikandari has been done with the publication of the H. Indicans Scopus kind of 14 and also 39 article in Scopus, which more than 90% of it some published in the Journal of Quarter 1 and Quarter 2. That's impressive. And also 5 book chapter and some of the grant and also the patent for her research. Dr. Rachma Wikandari also have a lot of working experience as a lecturer, as a head of biotechnological laboratory, and also the editor-in-chief in Agritech Journal. Dr. Rachma Wikandari also, the last one, is also named as a Young Scientist Award winner by the International Union of Food Science and Technology, the IUFOS, in 2022. The award was given in the World Congress of Food Science, if I'm not mistaken, in Singapore. So IUFOS is a country a membership organization that uh, promotes the advancement of global food science and technology. And Dr. Rachma Wikandari named as the Young Scientist Award winner in that for the achievement awards and also the publication. No, that's a very inspiring and support the development, actually, the research of the similar area of the biotechnological area. Now, I would like to greet Dr. Rachma Wikandari. Hello, Dr. Rachma Wikandari. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr.
Uh,
Kurniawan Jati. How are you today?
I'm very good. I'm very happy to hear you again, Dr. Rachma Wikandari. Thank you for joining our summer course. I hope you're always in a good health also. As
Yeah.
usual, Dr. Rachma Wikandari, the course will run about 60 minutes, then or
Okay.
maybe 60 minutes, 90 minutes. Following that, and we will have a discussion, 30
Okay.
minutes until 60 minutes also. So for all of the participants, I will remind you again, if you have any question, feel free to ask. To write down your question in the question and answer box in the comment box, or by raising your hand, or by turn on your camera and also your microphone when we have done the course and we join the question and answer session. So without further ado, I would like to say, please start your presentation, Dr. Rachma Wikandari. The time is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kurniawan Jati, for introducing me. So, hello everyone. How are you today? I hope that all of you are in a good health and have a full spirit to join this course. And I'm so happy to meet all of you here today. Since I heard that some of you has a diverse background, not only food technology, so I changed a little bit of the topic to be more generals, not too details. And I would like to give only the overview. It's kind of a surface, because then it will give a helicopter view. How is the impact of biotechnology on advancing the circular economy? So I will choose a topic of filamentous fungi because it is one of my expertise. So let me share my screen. Okay, so since I would like to know how many of you that maybe ever heard about filamentous fungi. Maybe you can raise your hand to make the class more live. Maybe you can like more interactive in this class, I hope. Yeah, I don't know what time is it now in your country, but I really want that all of you can be active in this class. So maybe you can use your emoticons to respond my question during the course. Okay, so the title I changed a little bit, even though the mycoprotein is in this topic, but I make it a bit general. So I would like to talk about the role of filamentous fungi in advancing the development of sustainable circular bioeconomy. So first of all, I don't know whether you are familiar with filamentous fungi. Filamentous fungi is a kind of microfungi. It's a fungi, but it's not mushroom. That you can edible mushroom like shiitake, for example. No, it's not that kind of mushroom, but it is a kind of fungi that is you need a microscope to see how it's look like. But I give you one example. One example of filamentous fungi that is well known is like, for example, if you ever heard about rhizopus or aspergillus, that's kind of filamentous fungi. So I would like to talk about this fungi and what is their role in advancing the development of sustainable circular bioeconomy.
The sustainable circular bioeconomy nowadays is more and more well known because it is one concept that wants to recycle the waste into raw materials, so it is more sustainable. Yeah, and what is the connection with the filamentous fungi? These fungi, they have enzymes. They have ability to secrete several enzymes so that can break down almost any organic materials. So they can, including the waste, for example. So they can grow on waste and then they produce new products. So it can help to recycle the waste into raw materials. So maybe you can see here. Yeah. In linear economy, it starts with raw materials and end with waste. But in circular economy, the waste is recycling back the residual waste after consumption. So in linear, I'll tell you the linear first. In linear economic concept, the raw materials goes for materials for production, and after production, it will go to distribution and then consumption. And what's left after consumption is residual waste. So in linear economy concept, there will be accumulation of waste. But in circular economy concept, in this concept, the residual waste is converted back to raw materials. So it becomes circular, the concept. And since this fungi, it's one creatures, maybe only very few creatures that has ability to produce enzyme and can grow and recycle the waste into raw materials, and one of them is fungi. That's why fungi is well known as a pioneer, because it can it will provide organic materials for the new or for others creatures. So that's why this fungi can help or have an important role in a circular economy concept, as it can grow in almost any organic matters and then convert it into raw material and produce valuable products. So, as I mentioned about filamentous fungi, this fungi, if we look at in the microscope, it will look like this. It's very beautiful and has a lot of variety. And if we look with our eyes, it will be like this. The fungi is the white one, and this is called tempe. It's quite famous fermented food in Indonesia, which is made from soybean. And we use filamentous fungi named Rhizopus, Oligosporus, or Oryzae to make this tempe. And the white one is the fungi. So it will connect one bean with another, so it become a compact cake. Okay, and then I would like to mention about how what is the application of filamentous fungi in biorefinery. So as I mentioned, that it can grow in almost anything and any organic matters, I mean. So then it can produce several valuable products which hold many applications. For example, food, textile, energy, and so on. So I would like to highlight, because my field is food technology, so I would like to highlight the application of filamentous fungi in food. So if I make it overview, we use filamentous fungi for food. We can divide it into 3 categories. The first one is fermented food. The second one is mycoprotein, and the third one is food ingredients. For fermented food, it is where the filamentous fungi we consume together with the substance, with the materials, with the substance. For example, this is tempeh. We eat the fungi together with the soybean. So it is like kind of fermented food. Can be tempeh, can be soy sauce, as an example of fermented food. But if we want, if we only consume the biomass of the fungi, that is called mycoprotein. So in this case, we only eat the fungi without the substance. And then the third category is food ingredients. In this case, we use filamentous fungi to produce diverse kind of organic acid or natural colorant. So it become food ingredients. I will go into detail one by one. For example, for fermented food, well, there are many various example of the usage of filamentous fungi in fermented food, especially traditional fermented food. I don't know how many of you familiar or have you ever tasted this kind of food? For Indonesian people, of course, tempeh may be a part of daily life, but I don't know for some of you that's come from different countries. Have you heard about tempeh? Or I will introduce you more about tempeh because nowadays it's becoming more and more popular, not only in Indonesia, but abroad as a super vegetarian food due to its many health benefits. I will tell you later. And so there are tempeh and soy sauce. For soy sauce here, it's we use it as a condiment, food condiment. And oncom, oncom is it's also fermented food, but made from a fungi, filamentous fungi, which give them orange color like this. And there is some miso in Japan and natto also from Japan. Blue cheese for, I think it's more in Western countries, they consume blue cheese. And gari is from African countries, and sake from Japan. So it is several example of fermented food made using filamentous fungi. Okay, so I will go in detail one example, tempeh, because I also done some work here. So for tempeh, it's fermented soybean cakes, in which the bean is held together with the mycelia, with the mycelium of the fungus, filamentous fungi, namely Rhizopus oligosporus. So it is the soybean, and if it's fermented, it becomes whitish like this. The white one is due to the fungi grow on the surface of the bean. And it is already found in 18th centuries and originated from Indonesia, especially, more specifically, Java Island. And it's become the third protein source that is consumed by Indonesian. So it's one of the main staple protein source for Indonesia. So I would like to highlight what is actually the advantage of fermentation, or what is the role of filamentous fungi in this case. Filamentous fungi could improve the nutritional value of the food. For example, if we want to compare between the soybean one and tempeh for example, protein, fermentation using filamentous fungi could improve the protein content of the food. As you can see in this figure, so here is the protein content, and you see there are some improvement if you compare. Tempeh contain higher protein compared to the soybean one, and there are different types of soybean. And all of them shows that fermentation has a benefit to improve protein content. And also, I don't know if you ever heard about trypsin inhibitor. Trypsin inhibitor is a kind of anti-nutrition compound where it can inhibit the absorption of trypsin, one of amino acid that is needed in our body. So if we have food which high in trypsin inhibitor, then it will reduce the quality of the protein. And fermentation help to reduce this trypsin inhibitor. As you can see, the light one here is the soybean, and the dark gray here is tempeh. And using many varieties of soybean grains, soybean cultivars, I mean, then it shows that fermentation could decrease the trypsin inhibitor content, which means that fermentation using filamentous fungi has a benefit on improving the nutritional value of food. And here is on the vitamin between soybean and fresh tempeh. If we compare all the vitamin, almost all of vitamin increase. Even especially pantothenic acid, it improve like more, it's like 10 times higher. So which is good for developing countries. If they want to have vitamins, they don't need to buy a supplement, for example, but we can rely on biological enrichment through fermentation. And here is one research that that study the effect of consumption of tempeh extract on preventing the diarrhea. So on the x-axis here is many types of pathogenic bacteria which can cause illness or diarrhea. And on the y-axis here is the adhesion. So if pathogenic bacteria will attach with our intestine, then we can get the diarrhea. And tempeh extract, as you can see here, the light gray here is if we don't add the tempeh extract, there will be high attachment with the intestine, all the pathogenic bacteria. But if we add tempeh extract, then it decreased significantly, maybe 90% decrease the attachment of pathogenic bacteria in our intestine, and this will lowering the risk of diarrhea. And there are some other health benefits of tempeh. Tempeh contains some active substances such as isoflavones, unsaturated fatty acids, fat-soluble vitamin like vitamin E and provitamin A, antibacterial compound, ergosterol, vitamin B, and several enzymes. As I mentioned, that fungi could produce several enzymes. And this active substance has many functions, such as it can function as an antioxidant, anti-fungi. It can lowering the cholesterol. It can also inhibit the growth of several bacteria. We have seen one example. And for subtropical countries, they interested to develop ergosterol because they maybe have less exposure of sun. So then it's good as a provitamin D source. And then for the enzyme, it has potency for metabolisms or hydrolysis. The other health benefits also, it can reduce the flatulence and diarrhea because it can digest during fermentation. Raffinose, a kind of sugars that cause flatulence, is degraded during fermentation. So then it lowering the risk of flatulence, where you feel that your stomach full of air. And then it has also health benefit, lipid lowering effect. So there are some research that conclude that the total cholesterol could decrease by certain percentage, maybe 10% for female if they consume tempeh. And it has also anti-carcinogenic effect. So there are many health benefits. That's why maybe it's gaining more and more popularity. And this is my research. I would like to know if I change the soybean with other legumes to make tempeh, whether it still have effect on nutrition. So I use different local legumes like mung bean, velvet bean, groundnut, kidney bean, cowpea, and black soybean. And it mentioned that the blue one is the raw one, and the red one is the fermented one. And it shows most of them has higher, the fermented one has higher protein content compared to the raw one. And I also want to check about the toxic compounds. So some legumes, some of them contain a toxic compound such as cyanic acid. And then after fermentation, it decreased very significantly. For example, velvet bean, it's maybe more than 90% decrease the cyanic acid content. So it make the fermented one will be more safe, will be safer. And then for the phytic acid is a kind of anti-nutrition compound where it inhibits the absorption of some nutrient. And it also shows that fermentation helps to reduce the phytic acid content, which means that fermentation using filamentous fungi have benefits by improving the nutrition, not only for soybean, but other type of legumes. And we also make actually to recycle the byproduct of food industry into food. We actually, it is quite common product here in Indonesia, the product named tempe gembus, where it is made from okara or tofu drugs, a byproduct from tofu industry. And then we ferment it using the fungi, the same fungi for making tempe, and it produces tempe gembus. So it is one concept of recycle that we have already applied, and also it's been commercialized in Indonesia. Okay, so I will come to the second type of application of filamentous fungi for food, which is named mycoprotein. So mycoprotein is an alternative protein source that is made by the mycelium or the body of the fungi. We want to make meat analog which has a meat-like texture from fungal mycelium. So here is the type of filamentous fungi. So this fungi we can use only the biomass, not we can just consume only the fungi without the substrate. And it is how it's look like. Only the biomass, the white one. So why mycoprotein is interesting to discuss? Because mycoprotein, nowadays there are more and more interest on mycoprotein because it has a potential, it has high potential as an ideal future food. There are several criteria why we can mention that this food it can be ideal future food. We should see from this criteria. The first one is ideal future food should has an excellent nutritional source, and it use minimum resources like water and land, and it also produce a minimum gas emission, and also it is also important that the protein could be affordable. So we want to compare this mycoprotein with other type of protein source that's already commercial, that we we consume it a lot, like beef, chicken, soybean, for example. For the nutritional compound, we can use different parameters. For example, the protein both in quantity and quality. For quantity, we can see just by the content. And for the quality, we can see from the essential amino acid, protein digestibility corrected amino acid score, and net protein utilization. These three shows the quality because it shows how many, for example, essential amino acid is amino acid that we can, our body cannot produce. So we need to get it from our diet or our food. That is called essential amino acid. And the digestibility and net protein utilization, more or less, it describes how well our body will use this protein. And if we compare, for example, for protein content, soybean got the highest. For essential amino acid, beef will be the best. But for the digestibility, we can say that mycoprotein is the best. And for net protein utilization, chicken will be best. But for water and land usage, mycoprotein will is the best because we can produce it using a fermenter, so it doesn't need a lot of land. We can produce it quick, because maybe it's just only take like days or week maximum. But for the other type of protein source, we need to have it like months or even years. And it's also need less water compared to other protein sources. And then for in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, soybean will be the best. So if we look at these 7 criteria, we know that mycoprotein, at least it has 3 criteria that is best in it compared to others. So it is kind of potential protein source. If we compare mycoprotein with animal protein source, it contains lower fat and higher fiber. And if we compare to legumes, mycoprotein doesn't contain any anti-nutritional compound that I mentioned before, like phytic acid and then cyanic acid and so on. So it is kind of a potential protein source in the future. And what about the taste? So there's already one study that's want to know that the acceptability of for the consumers about mycoprotein, and the result shows that 20% respondent, they don't realize that they eat mycoprotein, not the meat. So they think that the mycoprotein is meat, which means that it has similar properties with meat compared to other meat alternatives, especially from plant sources. And I know that some mycoprotein food that will be more and more interest on it, and then more study, and maybe there will be more product that is made from mycoprotein in the future. So I would like to know the correlation. What's make the mycoprotein tasty, for example? Then I conduct one study here. And in this study, I found out that the glutamic and aspartic acid content, it's really, it has a strong correlation, like 0.9, with the acceptance of the consumer. So any fungi that has high in this acid will have a potential to be accepted by the panelists. And the type of mycoprotein actually depends on the type of the fungi, the species of the fungi. It will create different chemicals that will correlate with the sensory. So which means that the type of the fungi will affect the sensory, and the most important chemicals or substance is glutamic and aspartic acid. Okay, so it is already one commercial product of mycoprotein, namely corn. I don't know if some of you already familiar about or ever heard about corn. Corn has been sold in 17 countries, but mostly in Western countries. And this product is made from Fusarium venenatum, so a filamentous fungi, namely Fusarium venenatum. And we actually have a lot of filamentous fungi, but there is a limited study on it. So I start to study to make mycoprotein from different type of filamentous fungi. So as I mentioned, it's already sold in 17 countries, the Mycoprotein one. At the end, I will have a video about the corn. And but why it's not so, how to say, it's not so booming about this mycoprotein is because the price of this mycoprotein, the meat analog from mycoprotein, is similar to real meat. So maybe that's discourage people to buy. Why I have to buy the imitation if I can buy the real meat with the same price? So it might discouraging people to buy this. So that's why maybe it's not so, how to say, not everyone already consume mycoprotein, even though there are many health benefits on it. So I'll try to reduce the production cost by using industrial byproduct. So in this case, I started a project to make a mycoprotein using grown or cultivated on water left after boiling the soybean in tempeh factory. So in tempeh factory, they will produce this kind of water, 30 million liter per day. And it is just water after you boil the soybean. So it can be regarded as a food grade. Just the water after boiling the soybean. And this water, I can use it to grow the fungi. And the result shows that the mycoprotein from this water has an excellent nutrition, even though it has 3 times higher essential amino acid compared with the commercial one. So it has a potential, and it also have 4 times lower, higher fiber than beef and so on. So it has excellent nutrition, the mycoprotein that is grown on this water. I use the same fungi for making tempeh to make the process can be easily integrated. So I make mycoprotein using a Rhizopus oligosporus that is just commonly used for making tempeh. So if I want to make it in one figure, the process of making tempeh and mycoprotein can be easily integrated. I just collect the water after the boiling and then sterilization to kill all the harmful pathogen if there's any, and then inoculate or grow the fungi, the same fungi, so there is no risk of contamination to each other because just the same fungi, and then grow it in a fermenter. And after the cultivation, I will separate the biomass with the water just by filtration, the easiest way, and then I get the fungal biomass as a mycoprotein. So just by installing 2 or 3 equipment here, it's already produced mycoprotein. So if it works, then it will help the tempeh factory to get more income from their byproduct stream. And it is a nugget that I make from the mycoprotein that is grown from the boiling water. It has good taste. And in here is the appearance. It's looks like a similar with chicken nugget, but still some work needed to make it better, especially for the texture. Another study that I have done collaboration with one of the Swedish university. We want to recycle leftover bread to make a new food, and this bread is just the bread that is we don't consume but still in a good condition, and then we crush it, and then we cultivate fungi on it, and it looks like a patty burger. and we want to know about the nutrition. So we ferment, or we make this patty burger from leftover bread in laboratory and home. And we shows that if we compare bread and the fermented one, it shows that for protein content, fermentation help to increase the protein content and the fiber also. So the fiber also increase after fermentation using different type of filamentous fungi. And as can be seen here, it's no matter whether we make it at home or we make it in laboratory. They show the same result, which means that actually if the fungi is available in the market, we can even recycle our own food at home. And coming to the third part is the food ingredients made from filamentous fungi. So several filamentous fungi, they are able to produce pigments, so we can use it as a natural colorant. For example, Monascus purpureus, they produce monascrobamine and rubropunctamin, which give a red color, and then the other produce kind of similar, that the color is orange and also yellow. So it's the natural colorant that can be produced from filamentous fungi is yellow to red pigment. And one is already in a commercial scale. And the next one is enzyme. So filamentous fungi is a good enzyme producers, and there are already many studies to produce several enzymes from different substrate. And then the enzyme, for example, alpha amylase, it can be used in food, textile, paper, and detergent industries. So the enzyme that is produced by filamentous fungi has a wide application in many fields, such as food, and then chemicals, and then also textile. And here is about flavors. So several filamentous fungi that can produce different types of flavor. For example, butter, sour, fruity, citrus, rose, and so on. So several type of volatile compound can be produced by filamentous fungi, and interestingly, they can produce it from byproduct of industry, such as olive meal. Okay, and then here is the application of filamentous fungi for chemicals. So several fungi, such as Aspergillus niger, Tereus, Flavus, Oryzae, and Microsporus, they can produce different type of organic acid, such as citric acid, gluconic acid, itaconic acid, malic acid, fumaric, kojic, and lactic acid. And this acid has different type of applications. Citric acid, as the most well-known in food industry, it can be used as a flavoring agent and also preservatives. Lactic acid, it's also well-known in food industry as an antimicrobial agent, and then it can be used in curing and pickling, flavoring enhancers, pH control, and so on. So even 90% of citric acid is produced through fermentation, not the chemical, because this organic acid actually can be produced by chemical one or biological one. The biological one use fermentation, and the fermentation use filamentous fungi, and 90% of citric acid is used by fermentation using a fungi as the well-known producer. So in conclusion, valorization of food industry byproduct using filamentous fungi into biomass and various arrays of value-added products creates a promising pathways toward a circular economy and sustainable development of food supply. So if you want to know more about filamentous fungi application in food, I have one book chapters that has just published this year that summarize all of the talk that I've made today. And before I end this session, I would like to show you a video about a mycoprotein.
Like a lot of people, I eat a lot of corn, but I don't know a lot about it. So I've come to Stokesley to meet Tim.
Well, it is just an example of mycoprotein that's already commercial. Since it is almost the only one, so that's why I'm. It's not intended for promotion, but since it's rarely mycoprotein that's already in the market, so it is one example.
Finnegan is going to tell us more about how it's made. So, Tim, what is the corn story?
Well, the corn story goes back many years. The idea itself goes right back to the 1960s. In fact, it was one man's big idea, and that was Lord Rank. And he set his scientists out to go and find the world's first new food since the potato. And what they were looking for was a microorganism, one that would transform the then plentiful starch into the less plentiful protein. And eventually they found what they were looking for, which was a tiny member of the fungi family. We know how to grow it at scale, and the most amazing thing is it's got fantastic nutrition, but perhaps more importantly, the ability to create the sort of tastes and textures of food that people really, really like. We use the age-old process of fermentation. So we've got our tiny little member of the fungi family. It's less than a gram, it's probably even less than half a gram. And we just add that to a little bit of sugar solution just to bring it back to life again, and that happens over a few days. We then transfer that into our big fermenter. Alongside key nutrients, we feed the fungi with glucose and oxygen. This enables it to grow continually. Then we use centrifuges to separate the mycoprotein paste from all the liquids. Then we harvest the mycoprotein. At this point, mycoprotein looks a little bit like bread dough. How on earth do you turn that into something that actually tastes and looks just like chicken? So this is mycoprotein that you can see. It's got that sort of bread doughy texture to it. So I'm going to add our mycoprotein to our mixer in here, at which point we're going to add our herbs and spices. And then we're just going to add our little bit of egg protein as well. This actually works extremely well as a binding agent. I'm just going to mix that now. The next stage is to begin to create that sort of texture that corn foods are so good at. Here's some that we did earlier. Now, if you were to look under the microscope here, what you would see in the mycoprotein is tiny sort of tree branches. And what we're going to do is we're going to align those fibres, the tiny sort of plant fibres, and begin to create those bundles that then will have that sort of meat-like texture. And the way that we start that process is by rolling. So you can see it's a bit like, you know, if you were making pastry, you'd create your first layer, and we'd actually fold it, roll it again. What we would do now is we will cook this in steam, and that literally is just to kind of set the egg protein that's in there. And then it's freezing. It's the controlled growth of the ice crystals that pushes the fibres together to create fibrous bundles that then gives you that sort of texture that corn foods are so famous for. In the factory, we do exactly the same thing, but on a much bigger scale. Then we give it the shape we need, pack it up, and ship it out. These are our breaded corn wings. You can see if I break one open, you've got that kind of chicken-like texture that Corn Foods
That
is.
looks just like chicken. It's delicious, it's nutritious, as you said, and you can make all your favourite meals with it.
Absolutely, the versatility is amazing. There's a huge range, a big world of corn out there, and it all tastes great.
So Tim, corn is clearly amazing. Is there any other reason why more and more people around the world are choosing it?
Well, it's great food, and it's got amazing nutrition. But perhaps most importantly of all, it's sustainable. So it's not just healthier for you, it's healthier for the planet as well.
Well, that's one example of mycoprotein product that has been commercialized. Nowadays, one of the hottest topic in food technology is to find meat alternative. Why? Because we know that in 2050 that will be growing population, and then our resources may be diminishing. So we need a protein that is has a good nutrition, but not extrapolates or has minimum effect to the environment. And meat, for example, it produces a lot of methane gas. So that's why it's considered not so healthy for the environment. And also there are some health risk-related issues with consumption meat. So that's why there are a growing trend on working in meat alternatives. And one of a potential one is mycoprotein, because it's has a good nutrition and with low impact to the environment. That's why it's mentioned it's can be sustainable protein sources. Okay, and I have one more video. This one.
Substitute.
So
One which more carnivores have been consuming.
Can you see it? The second video, it's about reality show. Or not yet?
See it next week.
Okay, so it's about reality shows that want to test the mycoprotein, whether people recognize it is meat or a meat substitute. So there is one reality shows about it. I'll just go directly on testing in the market because you've seen this before. Okay, so in this restaurant, the chef will cook pork, beef, and mycoprotein.
Put it to the test. At this pub in West London, the chef's making me 3 versions of his trademark chili, one with beef, one with pork, and one with corn. But how many of his customers will be able to pick out the meat substitute?
This one just tasted generally strange in comparison to the other two. I'm going to go for this one as the meat substitute.
You're going for this?
Yeah.
I am baffled, genuinely baffled. But if I had to guess, I would say this one is the substitute.
That one.
Okay, you think that one? You think that's the meat substitute?
Me too.
This was the meat substitute. Luke, put it there. Our little test has hardly been...
So also in terms of sensory, mycoprotein, since it have filaments, that's why the name is filamentous fungi, because it has filament. This can mimic the texture of meat, which is not owned by other meat alternatives, especially from plant-based protein. Okay, I think that's all about the talk that I would like to deliver today. So is there any question?
Thank you so much, Dr. Wikandari, for giving such interesting and incredible presentation related to the brief introduction for us to know about the filamentous fungi. So for all the participants, if you have any question, you can write it down, your question in the question and answer box, or you can raise your hand and turn on your camera or your microphone to ask directly to Dr. Wikandari. So please, for all of the participants, if you have any question, just ask Mr. and Ms. Rachma Wikandari. Okay, Mr. Dennis Prasojo.
Hello, so good day, Ms. Wikan. I would like to ask a question. So it's about your point of view. So what are the main problem or gap aside from the sensory side of mycoprotein? So I'm very interested in the process of the production in mycoprotein. So what are the problems or gap regarding its production? So I heard that it requires a very sophisticated and specific bioreactor as and how it requires a sterile environment to make it. So what are your opinion on the problem, the main problem? Thank you.
Okay, it's very good question, Dennis. So, as I mentioned before, that for example, mycoprotein that is already commercial, why not everybody eat it? Because it's already healthy, it's good for environment, but why? It's not like everyone wants to eat it now. That's because the price is the same with beef. So the challenge or the gap is actually raw materials, because nowadays for the commercial mycoprotein, they use glucose. And glucose is very, very expensive. So that's why the price of the mycoprotein is still expensive. And then and that's why my research is try to exploring any food grade materials from byproduct of industry that we can use to grow the fungi and produce mycoprotein. So that is the first challenge. And the second one is that since I changed the filamentous fungi is not Fusarium, but I use like Rhizopus, for example. So then I should learn about how to create fiber bundles, because different fungi, they have different type of mycelium, whether they are branch, they are single or so on, that will affect the texture of the product. So to summarize, the gap is the cost and the texture that still need to be improved. Yeah. Does it answer your question?
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dennis. Is there any other question for Dr. Okay. There is a question that we got from question and answer box. It's from Teresia Lian.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Wikan, for your amazing presentation. I will read it. Thank you for your presentation, for your amazing presentation, Ms. Wikan. Can be mycoprotein can be made at home? If it can, how to make it at home, and how to control the fungi to prevent contamination? Maybe you can answer.
Okay, it's very interesting question from Mrs. Teresia Liana. Yeah. So I think it is possible to make it at home as long as you can control the sterile condition. So for the sterile condition, the substrate we need to sterilize first using autoclave. And I know that there are some, how to say, a small scale autoclave. As long as you have autoclave and you can use even the autoclave, you grow it there. So first you have the substrate with you, and then you sterilize it using autoclave, a small autoclave. And then after that, because boil is not enough, it should be autoclave, because it should reach the temperature of 121 degrees Celsius, which only can be achieved by sterilization. You can use small autoclave, or I heard that there are some conversion of pressure cooker that's can also be used for autoclaving something, and then you grow it. You put the fungi there, and then you use the same autoclave to as a fermenter because it can kind of close it's a how to say it's a closed loop, so then to prevent the contamination. Yeah. Okay, that's all I think. Does it answer your question? It is possible, but you need to have small investment on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. For Miss Teresa Eliana, I'm sure and that ask answer your question. Do you want to answer or you want to ask another question again?
Oh, there are one more question. It's anonymous. Yes, it's asking, can it be applied to produce meat analog for vegan? Yes, it is. That's what I'm doing now. So I'm trying to produce several types of meat analog from Mycoprotein. I already show you the picture of nuggets that I made. Chicken nugget. I would like to make a chicken nugget from Mycoprotein, and I've done it. And I've published my paper too. You can just searching with my name and meat analog. That is the keyword. And then about the sensory. So the taste that will be no big difference with the real meat, but the color and the texture that needs improvement. Okay, I think does it answer your question?
That answer your question. I don't know who sent this question, but if you want to ask them, you can type it again, or you can type directly, turn on your camera and ask the question. It's an equation for or the other participant. It's an interesting topic about the filamentous fungi and the development of it. One of them is related to the microprotein, and we also hear there is some three categories that are usually be done in the food or in the area for fermented food, for food ingredient, also for the microprotein. And the development right now, because there is a trend, like Dr. Wikandari say, the food sector is growing and the people is growing, but we already understand and know that the agricultural land is no longer spent. So we try to find a way to get a new source of it. So is there any other question now related to the transition? Okay, I will check it. Maybe also interested to know, Dr. Rachma Wikandari. We already heard about the microprotein filamentous fungi. It's still expensive, but you also develop what kind of research that we can do in it, or we can use it for more cheaper or for more potential benefit to create a microprotein. In the market, we have in the market there is a corn that made from the filamentous fungi, but it's from another region. How about our indigenous strain? Did we have that? Or do we have any potential to search, isolate, and maybe develop from it?
Yes, I don't know, but there is still limited study, especially in Indonesia, to find out local fungi for making mycoprotein. I think I've like make some how to say I've go through several literature, and for example, even Rhizopus oligosporus, it's not yet been explored, so that's why I use that one for making the mycoprotein. And I know the one reason why I use the Rhizopus is just because we are very familiar with that one. So I hope that when it's the product come to the market, there is no issue related with safety because we have consumed it like 250 years and nothing happened with tempeh, right? So I choose that one. I would like to tell about the history of corn. Actually, the fungi Fusarium venenatum has been found in 1980, and it took about 20 years until it is in the market. Why? Because that kind of fungi never been consumed by human before. So there are a lot of research to make sure that it is safe, it doesn't have any allergen and so on. And in the case of Rhizopus oligosporus, I don't have to do that kind of research because everybody already consumed this fungi. It just never been, we never consume only tempeh, the tempeh fungi only. We consume it with the soybean in tempeh, but we never eat only the fungi. But since there is no problem when we eat the tempeh, so we can assume that there is no problem also if we eat the fungi. Okay.
Another question in the question and also about also Ms. Wickham.
Oh yeah. Is protein stabilization from mycoprotein better than other source of protein? Because in general, protein denaturate is easy and happen when heated, and it will have an impact on the nutritional value. Okay, thank you very much for the question. It's about the stabilization of the protein. Yeah. So for the stabilization, honestly, I haven't checked when I heat it and how is the quality of the protein. So I don't know whether it will be better or not with the, for example, what is known like egg. If the protein of egg we heat it, then it will decrease a lot the quality of the protein. In this case, I haven't checked, so I don't know. Okay. It's really good for further research to check the stabilization.
Question, Ms. Wickham.
Yeah.
Comment box.
Okay, any
Muhammad
question?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I want to ask, how is the development of filamentous fungi for future? What innovation might become a new breakthrough for the trend? Thank you. Oh, very nice question. The development until now for filamentous fungi, actually some of filamentous fungi product, like for example, in the term of food, fermented food, it's already commercial, so it's already well established for fermented food from filamentous fungi. But what is new is actually the mycoprotein that I mentioned. That's one kind of innovation, because if we want to produce meat, we need to wait until like months or years. But if we want to produce mycoprotein, it will be quick. It's only take some hours or some days maximum. So then it will be a good alternative for protein source in the future in terms of high productivity and also the environmental impact and also nutrition content. So in the future, maybe a lot of product meat analog comes from mycoprotein. That is the innovation in filamentous fungi in the future. Am I answer your question?
Mr. Muhammad Zafran, need the answer enough to answer your question? Yeah, but I believe also that we have to find alternative source for the protein as we can, because we already know that the agricultural land did not expand, and the animal welfare and disease prevention, the environmental challenge are the key driving factor to the development for the meat analog. And the mycoprotein from the filamentous fungi is one of the alternative source to give a bridge to these problems.
Yeah.
And from your point of view, Ms. Regan, how about the let's say some filamentous fungi already been going through for our grandpa like a rhizopus, let's say like that, and we can say like it's generally safe to consume. But in the development of it, in the application, when we try to subject it in the food product, we need to evaluate the safety assessment, let's say like that, just to provide brief or some scientific evidence that this strain or this strain that we use in here is safe. How do you think about that?
Okay, thank you. It's an interesting opinion. So, for me, since Rhizopus oligosporus, it is already well known as grass microorganisms, generally recognized as safe microorganisms. So actually, it doesn't need any further evaluation about the safety of the product, but the safety here is like maybe toxicity and so on. But I saw one study that when corn comes in the market in the beginning, there is one study wants to know the effect of allergen of that fungi, because it's kind of novel fungi for Fusarium, but for Rhizopus we have consumed there is almost no allergenic response on the Rhizopus. So I don't think we need to do that. But for the sake of regulation, maybe if this product is going to be in the market, maybe we need, yeah, I mean, like just for the sake of regulation, if it's so. Yeah, but I mean, in general, since it is grass, so it should be safe. Oh, there is one more question, yeah, from Dennis. Do we need bioreactors to grow mycoprotein in its desired form? Well, if we just want to grow the fungi, I don't think we need a mycoprotein. Maybe I need a bioreactor. We can grow it in a tank. One of my students do that, like grow it in a tank whether they have a sterile tank and so on, and then filter the air that goes in to make it sterile. But if we want to, how to say, to increase the productivity, then we need a bioreactor to control the oxygen, because oxygen really affect the growth of the fungi. So if we want to maximize it, then of course we need the bioreactors. What is the difference between bioreactor with other type of reactors? Maybe in bioreactor we can control the flow rates of the air, or the aeration rate we can control, and it is very crucial for the growth of the fungi. Not only the aeration but also the pH, where pH is very also affect the growth of the fungi and the taste of the fungi later on. Okay, I think, does it answer your question?
Dennis, is that answer the question? Maybe you can add more question. Okay, thank you so much. That's answer the question. Yeah. The development of the wheat analog microprotein from the filamentous fungi, we know about the development of it, and there is some gap about the price in the, which we can, that we need to dig deeper again for that problem. And in your opinion, Mr. Wikan, is related about the microprotein that is still expensive still expensive, but we also know that the microprotein have a lot of benefits kind of in the land area also. The way to solve the problem, is there some ways beside to find a cheaper material to with the microprotein? Is there any another ways to solve it?
Okay, thank you. It's a very good question. So another strategy to reduce the cost of the mycoprotein could be by optimizing the condition of growth. So then we can get higher biomass. Then it will the higher biomass yield by how to say by playing with the condition, for example, temperature, pH, then that might affect the growth of the fungi or aeration. That is another way to reduce the production costs by maximizing or optimizing the growth condition. Then we can get higher biomass yield. Yeah. Sorry, I could not hear you. Yeah.
So one is to try to use rice for material. Yeah, I would be 0.5 process. Space mass environment.
Yeah.
Is there any equation for that? Top between John's and Parsons. Tolerance and it's very important. It's very hard. So they come in. Where it's
I'm sorry, I could not hear you clearly.
Migration.
Yeah. Oh, maybe you can say
is that my voice?
I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe my connection, but I could not hear you clearly. Maybe you can say it once again.
I just highlight about what you already delivered to us.
Yeah.
You already deliver about the roles of the filamentous fungi related to the food ingredients, related to the uh, fermented food, and also the microprotein. So there's a lot of insightful things that we can get from this morning lecture for the topic of the role of filamentous fungi in advancing the development of sustainable circular bioeconomy. So we hope also that it can be beneficial to us to learn together about that. For all of the participants, if you still have an equation, you can ask by type it in the comment box or in the question and answer section, or you can directly raise your hand and turn on your camera or microphone to ask Dr. Wikandari. Okay. Maybe just last, maybe like a last question, or maybe last statement for the end statement from you. Ms. Wickham, do you have any closing statement related to the development of the filamentous fungi, related to the how it can be developed in the near future, or maybe in the past, in the new years that will be going on, and how about our indigenous trade, or maybe our development in our city, in our country, like that?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kurniawan Jati. So, filamentous fungi is one microorganisms that has ability to produce a diverse type of enzyme which help them to grow in almost any organic materials, including waste. So it has these tiny creatures and is not owned by many other organisms, this ability to produce several fungi. This make filamentous fungi has an important role in circular economy, where circular economy will be more and more interesting in the future. That's all.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Rikan, for the closing statement. So we hope that this morning lecture from Ms. Rikan related to the rules of the filamentous fungi is also can be a new insight and a new source of us to learn more about that, because we already heard that the development of it is growing. It has a tendency to increase and increase in the recent years. And finally, I'd like to thank to the Dr. Rachma Wikandari for your
You're welcome.
insightful and presentation. To all of the participants also who already joined the equation, who already are being active in here. To express our gratitude, we would like to deliver some electric certificate of appreciation to you. It's from the Dean of the Faculty at Agricultural Technology, Gadjah Mada University. Please, all of the participants, to send your applause reaction to Dr. Rachma Wikandari, because she already delivered us some good materials related to the filamentous fungi and the development. Thank you so much, Dr. Rachma Wikandari, for the
You're welcome.
insightful
You're welcome.
presentation.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you so
welcome.
much.
Thank you for inviting me. Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Have a
okay.
nice day, everyone.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rachma Wikandari. So this is end of the 12 for the morning session in here for the first section of this fourth day. And then I will return this session to the master of the ceremony. For the master of the ceremony, you can take time.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kurniawan Jati, for led this discussion today, and thank you so much to Mrs. Rachma Wikandari, S.T.P, M.Biotech, Ph.D, for the awesome insights and give me more knowledge to us.
Yes, before we move on to the next session, we also have a appreciation certificate for Mr. Tugestus Kurniawan Jati from that will be given by the chairman of committee of the 5th Smart Agroindustry Summer Course Program, Mr. Makbul Hajat, Sarjana Teknologi Pertanian, Master of Engineering PhD. But due to the absence of Mr. Makbul, the certificate will be given by symbolize. And perhaps we can take some documentation, and for the committee, please screenshot in 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kurniawan.
Thank you so much.
And then we also had already prepared a video learning. So for the operator, would you please share this video so we can watch it together? Waiting along for the operator to share the video, I would like to remind you to please